Canary Wharf, which is an area east in London, which is a big development. Reuters is located. All these really, actually, gigantically tall buildings. It's unusual. Hello up there. Very much looks like New York or anywhere else. I'm going in to see Reuters. And there it is, the Reuters building. Ed, introduce yourself.
I'm Ed Williams. I'm the Director of Communications at Reuters.
Okay, explain to me what this is.
Well, what you're seeing here, Cara, is technology that has defined different eras.
Right, this is a keyboard
Reuters.
perforator, whatever that does.
So this is from, right from the pigeons.
Right. Ooh, what's the tray for? Just because the guy was an editor, he got a tray for a thing. So this is pigeons to various...
To telexes, to Monitor in 1973.
Right.
This was when the markets really went sort of
Right.
online.
Look at that.
Look at this.
Monitor.
This is a Stockmaster machine from
Stockmaster,
1964.
A Stockmaster machine.
Now,
Goodness
amazingly,
sakes. It looks like it should be on Star Trek.
At the time, Reuters not only provided the information, but we also built
Right.
the
Built
machinery
the technology.
as well.
Wow. Look at this.
So we've come a long way from...
This is early used to buying commercial telegrams. This is a cable, Atlantic cable. Look at this. Cable box. Of course, an old typewriter. Gotta have one of those. And what's this?
This is a Morse receiver.
Morse receiver. Wow.
So Julius
This is an
Reuters inkwell.
Wow, and his pocket watch and his walking cane. Because that's critical to the delivery of information. Look at this.
It's extraordinary,
Is this him?
isn't it?
Is this Julius?
Yeah, and there's a very famous
Guess
bust
what?
of him over here.
An old white guy. What a shock. There he is again. Where is he? Oh, and
he
here's
is
his
here.
bust. Okay, here's Julius. Reuters. Nice whiskers, Julius.
1816 to 1899,
Wow.
founder of Reuters.
Wow, look at this.
The
And
Baron.
today?
And this is our screen
Would he have
today.
ever thought that? Never. Look at that. Julius, you're sitting right by it looking a little dubious. Look, he's looking dubious. Wait, how many?
About 2,500. We
Here?
have about 17. Yeah.
And how many around the world?
About 17,000 around the world.
These are mostly journalists or various
It's a
different...
real mix, actually. We've got about 2,500 full-time editorial staff.
Right.
But also we supplement that with about the same number in stringers, so about 5,000 total.
Wow, that's amazing. Tom, introduce yourself. Say what you do.
I'm Tom Glocer, and I'm the Chief Executive at Reuters.
Reuters just did a merger.
With
Tell us
Thomson.
a little bit about that and what that makes you.
Well, what it makes me
Yeah.
is soon Chief Executive of what I expect to be the media company of the 21st century, catering to professionals, but Thomson Reuters, which will provide content and applications to professionals wherever knowledge really matters in those industries.
Let's talk about that, the news industry and where it's going. What do you think the big areas of digital distribution are? I mean, what do you think any major media company now can't have a digital, obviously has to have a digital distribution strategy, but what does that mean, in delivering information?
I think it potentially is huge, because if you think of the media model, it's traditionally been, going back to Gutenberg times, you had to make a big investment in a press, in trucks for distribution,
Right.
or even, let's go to television quickly, in payment for carriage and cable, or transponder and satellite. Now suddenly you can stream across town for the same cost as around the world.
Right.
And what that means is, I think we're going to see a change also to the advertising buying patterns. So I can now aggregate an audience that isn't limited by my means of production, but is limited by like-minded people all around the world.
Advertisers are taking a while to get. I mean, one of the things that strikes me is that advertisers, there's more people watching. The time they spent using digital technologies is 3 times, I think, higher than the amount of advertising spending. They keep going to television still, even print, even though it's been suffering and declining. What changes in the advertiser's mind? Because you have to pay for this kind of thing.
Well, I think, we're beginning to see with the measuring agencies a shift from just measuring clicks or page views, which are often just an indication of the relevant technology. Are you framing, are you not, how do you work it, to time spent on site. So, Dick Parsons at Time is pointing to that. You've got other folks like Yahoo who think they'll benefit from time spent on site.
Right.
The interesting question is now, since a lot of that is video driven and advertising serve up around video isn't as obvious as it is in let's say, classical display advertising,
Right.
how will that actually monetize?
What do you think the most important trends right now are, the trendy trends? I mean, obviously, you're on Facebook, right?
Right.
What do you like? I mean, you told me you code, you're kind of a closet geek kind of thing. What do you think? What is exciting to you at this moment?
Well, obviously, social networking is exciting. Back to the news industry, what I think is still unresolved, but we're doing a lot of work at Reuters on, is what is the pro-am combination? I don't believe that the world wants to get all of their news only from one source. I think there's a great richness from citizen journalism, and it doesn't have to be either or. And the really interesting question is, how do you apply your brand? What are your standards? What do you do with content you provide yourself?
Mm-hmm.
And how do you encourage others to interact with you and make your environment richer and ultimately one that users want to spend time with?
Well, how would a social network work within such a like a Reuters situation? Because people don't feel like they belong to Reuters even if they use your products. How do you create that sense of community around a product that, newspapers, maybe the Journal could, or how do you do that? What's your...
Well, I think you need to make content come alive. So, for example, you might not naturally coalesce just around a flat print story,
Mm-hmm.
but if I give you an alerting service, let's say that I know that your kids are in school in Spain,
Mm-hmm.
and through the Reuters news service, we know pretty much faster than even intelligence agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say if there's been a
You're scaring me,
bomb
Tom.
attack in
You're scaring me,
Spain.
Tom.
No, don't worry about it. Well, actually, that's a really interesting
Okay.
question. Think about, where does news sell? Why does Rupert want financial news? Why have we always done financial news?
Mm-hmm.
Because when people are making trading and investment decisions with millions riding on it, they don't want to just be titillated and entertained.
Mm-hmm.
They want the real news, hard facts from a source they trust.
Mm-hmm.
The only other time when people really care about that is, one, health news. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, I have cancer. Give me the facts.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, there's a potential terrorist attack at the airport. Suddenly, I don't want to see fluffy blonde on couch.
Right.
I want, I don't know, Charles Kuralt to tell me the truth.
See, I want
Please.
Paris Hilton to tell me about that.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. That's
No.
the risk.
So there is the idea of branding is still important. Trusted brands, kind of thing.
Branding's important only if there's something actually behind it. So Reuters has done very little branding, but if you've stood for something for 156 years, people eventually get the message.
Or they think you're really old. No,
Yeah.
I'm teasing you. What is your favorite gadget right
And
now?
bald.
Yeah, you look fine. What is your favorite gadget right now? Is there anything that you...
See, now I'm going to confess
Okay.
what an old man I am.
Right, all
it's
right.
my BlackBerry Curve,
Uh-huh.
which is a half-decent, not nearly as cool as iPhone, but I'm from the world where gadgets are still dominated by what I need to do at work, as opposed to, I think, the rising world, which will clearly be a more Mac-centric, iPhone-centric, give me music, give me visuals.
Right. And what's the biggest hype thing right at this moment from your perspective in the technologies, in the whole space?
The second inflation of the Amazon bubble.
The bubble, uh-huh. And then anything in terms of, you don't feel, a lot of people feel social networking still has become a bubble, even though it's a huge trend.
No, I don't think it's a bubble. I think, that's for real. I think the really difficult issue for people who still care about making money is, how do you introduce, whether it's advertising or some other monetization engine,
Uh-huh.
and not piss off and lose your audience?
Right.
Facebook hasn't proved that yet.
Uh-huh.
MySpace started to try and prove it, and everyone I know sort of abandoned ship a long time ago.
Right, right. Interesting. Tom, thanks a lot, as usual.
Thank you.
Bye.